Hey, and welcome to MindBoost. This is the space where we dive into what's actually working in mental health and highlight the individuals who are doing the exciting work of building what's coming next. Today's conversation, we are speaking with Dr. Adam Sharp. He is a former ER doctor who saw the cracks in the system and decided to do something about it. He has created Galvin, a health and wellness company that utilizes blockchain technology with AI and actually rewards people for the healthy things that they're already doing. It also gives people the crazy ability to have their personal health records in their own possession. Mind-blowing. This is a conversation that just blew my mind. So innovative. I am really crazy about this company and so excited for you all to meet Dr. Adam Sharp. Thank you so much for being here today. And first of all, tell us as simply as you can, what is Galvin?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having us on. It is exciting to be able to share some of the new things that we are doing. So Galvin is a blockchain or Web3 company, which you may be very familiar with blockchain, or you may be a newbie and just have heard of Bitcoin and things. But what that is a decentralized network where the community owns and operates and processes the transactions. But what is really novel that we are doing that's unique is that we have the opportunity to use some of the things you're already using, like your whatever wearable you have, in order to track your exercise minutes, and we will reward you with our digital rewards, as well as a really amazing novel tool specific to the mental health, which I know you were passionate about, Britta, is we felt it was really important that people have the tools that they need in their hands. As a physician and health professional, they are really important too. But I think we haven't done a good enough job historically with giving people the tools that they need to empower themselves to really own and control their health. And so with voice recognition, AI software, which uses more than 2,500 biomarkers. If you're not familiar with that term, a biomarker could be anything that our body does that can be tracked. So that could be a blood test that we are familiar with, but our voice is actually very unique to us. So technology has been able to use AI to show that we can track things like our mood, our stress, our anxiety, depression, depending on what you call it. And it allows us to objectively assess how we're doing and then get real life evidence-based tools to be able to do something about it. So Galvin facilitates all of that. That's a lot in what is Galvin, but it's a Web3 company that helps people own their health records, get rewarded for doing healthy things like exercise, and tools that allow them to actually assess their mental health and then own and control that themselves and identify if they need extra help or potential other therapies to be their best self.
Okay, this is just genuinely one of the most exciting ideas that I have seen maybe ever, especially, as a person in my midlife where health has become more and more important, right? And access to care, getting different doctors, and then having this siloed information is so tricky. People are moving right and left these days, and it's really difficult to get your records from one spot to the next and to have this new doctor really understand everything in the past that is very important. So this is just beyond thrilling for me. I'm so excited. So you, first and foremost, were a doctor. So as you were working in that field, what were the experiences or the gaps that you were seeing that inspired you to create this, or felt you needed there was change here?
Yeah. Well, each health professional has their own perspective. So I was trained as an emergency physician and worked in emergency departments in various states across the United States, currently located in California. The emergency department is where all the failures happen. So I saw all the failures. People talk about unnecessary ER visits. And I use the example of when I was a resident, a woman came in for a medication refill. Most people would agree not the best place to go for medication refill is in the ER, but she couldn't get in to see her doctor. When I ended up speaking with this woman, it's still kind of a heartbreaking case. She did well, but she came in, and when I went in to see her and I asked, you haven't been taking your blood pressure medicine for like a year. Why today did you decide to come into the ER? She actually started to share some very concerning symptoms. It was that she started to have chest pain, and when she laid down at night, she couldn't breathe. So she felt like it was because her blood pressure was too high. We did some extra tests. She'd had a heart attack and she didn't know it. That's really why she was prompted to come in to get her medication refill. So that was obviously a failure in a lot of ways. Access to care is hard everywhere. Continuity of care, depending on who your insurer is or who your health insurer provider is. Typically in the United States, people get that through their job and it's not portable. And so, if you're healthy, the health system doesn't do a lot to help you maintain that health. And if you're sick and you have had to navigate the health system, then you have seen all of the shortcomings. My personal experience with that is we have 4 kids, and my daughter, she's doing amazingly well. But when she was 4, she was diagnosed with a terminal brain cancer. And so that was my time to see how the health system worked. And I'm a physician, and I had done a research fellowship, and I worked in the health system that was providing her amazing care. And what you realize very quick is, despite everyone's best efforts, you better be the expert on your own health. And as a parent, you better know what your kid needs and doesn't need, and what their allergies are and what medications are, because nobody else is really going to understand that as well as needs to be understood, but you. And so those experiences, both professional and personal, I have a good friend that was into blockchain early on. He was Bitcoin full bore 10 years ago, and I told him that's not real. That's just a scam and it's a joke. And, at that time we were calling it the dark web, and people have done nefarious things with blockchain. The reality is technology is not inherently evil or good. It's how you use it. And we are using it to try to empower people and reward them for doing things we know they should be doing, and give them tools that we haven't been able to provide directly to people without a major clinic or health system in the past. And that's now changed. I think with AI, everything should change, and this is part of it. And instead of running it through a government or an insurer or your employer or some hospital, why not own it? And why not let the community make sure that it's secure and make sure that the transactions are transparent? It solves a lot of the historical problems in the health system. And not all of them, but a lot of them can be solved with the appropriate use of this new technology.
Wow. That is so inspiring. And I feel like, it's ownership. It's when you own something, you take better care of it oftentimes. And when you have your health in your hands, essentially, even though we all do, but it doesn't feel like that. I think how our system is currently set up, it feels like somebody else is in charge of my health, and I'm just, going along with the flow. And instead of taking charge, this is my life, my body, I'm the one experiencing it. And, just being really empowered to make better choices for myself. So I think this is going to be such a great tool for all of them. I'm so excited. Walk us through, you were talking about the reward system. And I think when we initially spoke, I was a little bit fuzzy because I'm not very familiar with blockchain, how this worked out. So when we're talking reward systems, are we talking about you get little badges, or what is the reward? What are the rewards from you?
Yeah. So really good question. I don't know how many of you use, I have an Apple Watch because it's convenient and it's nice. I like every once in a while when it spins at night and says that I've got my movement badge. And so that's nice. Badges, we know that, gamifying things help us as humans. We feel good. We take that a step further. One of the analogies is frequent flyer miles. The airlines try and keep you with them because they want to reward you, and they have a lot of reasons why they want you to stay with their airline, mostly financial. Well, cryptocurrency can be thought of as a frequent flyer mile, but instead of us rewarding you for flying or spending money in our company, we are rewarding you for actually exercising. So the two things that we currently reward, and hopefully the community will vote on this, but in the future we'll reward for all sorts of things. But the two proofs of action that we have are exercise. So the proof of action is I have a device that shows that I got my heart rate into my exercise range for 30 minutes a day. Now, 30 minutes is the minimum, right? So for some of us, a little more than that's ideal. You have a crypto wallet, and you will get crypto deposited in your wallet for showing that you exercised. What can you do with that crypto? Well, that's a little more complicated answer, but it can be as simple as take it and go to one of our partners and use it to buy health and wellness products, or store it, hope that because it's going to add value and in the future it'll be worth more. And you can take it and go to any of these exchanges, is what they're called. And so if you're familiar with crypto, you can go to any of the decentralized exchanges and swap our crypto for another crypto, including things like USDC. So bottom line is you can use it to do whatever you want. You can take it and swap it for cash, which it's not worth a huge amount yet because we're just getting started. But what we hope is we will have this virtuous cycle where you'll get, so let me give you a very concrete example. We're selling a digital gym membership. Next week, we're going to start with this. You already have your gym. So we don't have gyms. So somebody pays to go to pick your gym that is nearby you, your local gym. Well, say it's, a couple $100s a year for you to pay for that gym. Well, most people get a gym membership and they don't go. We know that. That's a fact. You can go look at the numbers. So we provide an incentive that actually will compensate you, where if you buy a gym membership through us and then upload a picture, it doesn't even have to be of you, it can be of your shoe at the gym, then we're going to reward you with eyes for using it. And if you use it, then you'll end up making 3 times what you paid for that digital membership in eyes. So it's, when you say what's the incentive, it's actually tangible incentive to use a currency that you can use to go get the products that you want, whether that be even, transferring that to another cryptocurrency and putting it in your bank if you want to do that. But the reality is it's real rewards. It's not just a frequent flyer mile. It's similar, but instead of just being able to use for flights, you can use to do whatever you want.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So for someone like me, this is absolutely a perfect thing. Here I am in midlife, suddenly, more concerned with my health and very overwhelmed as to how on earth do I go about this. Definitely, I've done the thing where I pay for the membership and I never go and things like this. But I feel like what you are creating here is going to create so much momentum in a person's life. I mean, even I really did get so excited when I saw protein powders that you can get with your rewards and things like that. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant. And I'm sure this is actually good protein. So like a lot of it for someone who is not, in the wellness and health, very, knowing all the things, I feel like I'm scared to even dive in because I don't know what's good. Am I getting this protein powder that's actually like full of bad things? And so I'm actually just, so even that is very exciting to me.
Well, you bring up such a good point, and it's really one of the main value propositions of what Galvin tries to offer. We want you to choose the best product for you. We aren't a gym. And so for me, I don't love gyms. So I have my kind of old middle-aged man garage gym. And I love that because my barrier is actually getting in my car and traveling to a gym and then having to like share the weights with somebody. That's what I don't want to do. And so for me, that works well. For many people, if they don't actually get out of their house and go to the gym, then they're not going to work out. And so the reality is we want to incentivize people. If you're already going to the gym, this is a no-brainer. You're just going to get rewarded things that you can use to pay for things that you like for doing what you're already doing. So it's a no-brainer. If you're somebody like me who needs maybe a little bit of motivation to go do that, like you want to do it, but you're maybe not as consistent as you should be, well, then sometimes just a slight motivation or something that's tracking you that you're going to look and be like, oh, if I don't go do this, I'm going to lose out on these things. You know that fear of loss is a major motivator for behavior change in all of us. And so that's what we're trying to do is we really want you to own your health. We think if you track it and you own it and you see what you're doing and you get rewarded to do what you feel is best for you. So for example, some people love CrossFit and that's great. Go do CrossFit. Some people are runners. I hate running. I ran a marathon because my brother convinced me. And I'm glad I did it because I found out I don't want to continue to do that. There's other modes of exercise that are just better. I feel better and enjoy them more. And that's the important thing. Things like mental health. We have power ups. So if you do a mental health voice recognition, it says, hey, your stress is high. Well, there's lots of things you can do about stress. If you talk to someone who does therapy and gets paid to do therapy for stress, well, they're going to tell you, come to me and get therapy. And that's great. But we don't get paid to do that. We are objective. That's the whole point of democratizing this platform is we want you, even if it's go sit in the grass and listen to the birds and look at the trees. Well, we know that is extremely effective. But who's going to reward you for doing that? Because nobody makes any money, right? Like there's a reason why we haven't had the promotion of certain very healthy actions that are very effective is because people, aren't being rewarded to do that. And that's what Galvin's trying to change is getting those things into the hands of the people so that you can get rewarded for things that we know work, whether we make any money on it.
Oh my gosh, that is so brilliant. So I saw also when I was either in the app or on the website, I added it to my calendar and I can't remember exactly what it was. Was it like a workshop or some kind of meeting for galvanizers? It was a meeting for galvanizers, but I can't remember exactly what it was about.
Galvanizers.
Galvanizers.
We like galvanize our token. So our digital reward is called eyes. So galvanize, you are spot on. And we do typically have weekly meetings on Tuesday. And really what those are, my colleague, Byron Belka, who is master of kind of promotion and sales. He's our director of sales and trying to get this. So we're at the point where now we just want to spread. We just want the more people. Our goal is that we get 1 million people using our app and then 10 million people. And then everybody has access to this. Everybody has a platform. that they own and control, and they can be rewarded for doing different things. On Tuesdays, we do have a meeting, and we can either add a link or whatnot. You can go to our website, galvin.health, and there's a calendar that shows, and we stream it on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So you can just find us on our social media and follow us there. But we do it every week. I try to give as the medical person, I try to give a healthy tip that will help people to better manage and understand their health. And then, this next Tuesday, we're going to talk a little bit about this new digital gym membership that I mentioned. That's a new thing that we haven't done in addition to some of the other things that we're doing. So thank you for bringing that up. We would love to welcome anybody who wants to come join us. They're also recorded, so you can, we have people in many countries around the world, so time zone's a problem, so that we record them, and you can go, find us and watch it whatever time's convenient for you.
As a person who is myself, I've tried so many different kind of wellness tracking or health apps, and they have all fallen really flat in my actual life. But I'm finding already with this that I'm being surprised and delighted at every turn, even just discovering that, like, what is this? I definitely added it to my calendar, and it's just a breath of fresh air. If I'm being honest, it is so exciting. So it feels like the real thing, finally, something that's actually going to help. And it's just thrilling. So that's exciting. I will definitely be there.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. We're not perfect, that's for sure. But I think, where we're going, I think this is the truth. We have a lot of work to do. And it's the part of being a, quote, decentralized community. It's not just me. I tell people this often. If you find a doctor who doesn't ever think that they don't know something, you've got the wrong doctor, and it doesn't matter who they are. And I think that's true about health and wellness. What you said is what we hope is we believe in people know best if they are given the tools and the ability and the incentives to actually own their health. As a physician, and even as someone who did healthcare improvement research for almost a decade, even if we are really confident that this person, based on the data, has a 90% chance of success, we still have a 10% chance of failure. And frankly, nobody knows if you're in the 90 or the 10. And so people need to have better information. We live in the information age where digital AI tools are going everywhere. And this is just a platform that we hope will build on all those things. Western medicine, Eastern medicine, those that have been considered alternative medicine or wellness clinics. We need those. We also need traditional medicine that has typically the most cutting edge technology. And when you are acutely sick with things that are life-threatening, typically that's the best route to go. So I share that, and I'm talking probably too much because I love when people hear our story. Almost universally, it resonates with everybody. Sometimes they don't understand everything about blockchain. Sometimes they're like, what? How does blockchain have anything to do with health? And then, start to tell them a little bit about it. But it's really just the beginning. And I think huge opportunities of where this can go. So it's cool right now, still totally worthwhile. I think where it can go is really world changing if we do it right.
I agree with that. Absolutely. So you mentioned blockchain again. Can you tell us, you've integrated this blockchain technology into healthcare delivery. What advantages does this offer, obviously, the users, but providers as well?
Yeah, so really good question. I think there's a couple of different answers. So from my experience as an emergency physician, we're kind of better, but not really, about sharing information between systems. If you have ever attempted to get your own health information and take it from wherever you've been and share it with another place, it is a nightmare. Now, it's becoming a little bit easier to do certain things. Some health systems will allow you to download it onto your phone so you can see it, but being able to share it with others and actually get access to, there's a million examples, but if you get an MRI somewhere, it's really hard to actually get those images. There's usually a lot of memory that goes into it. And the way that reimbursement works in the health system, they're only going to pay one radiologist to read it. And so I remember one of the health systems I worked at, I took them a CD or a DVD disc of the images and said, hey, this patient just had these images at another hospital and now they're here. Will you read this? And they said, no, we don't get compensated to do that. Wow. And so that's not the health system we want to be a part of. That's not the world that we're here to be a part of. But being able to have patients actually, everyone agrees that I should own my own health information, but we haven't really created tools where I can do that. And so that's how, as an emergency physician, if somebody comes in and it doesn't matter if they've been in my health system or not, they could share with me everything that's relevant to their health and what's been done in the past. Huge benefits to me. And then I can add whatever I have to add to it and they can take it with them. And so That's a future state. We have not integrated with all the providers, but we have given people the ability to document their health information and to be able to share it with whoever they want. That in and of itself is actually very helpful. So that's from the provider level. From the personal level, it kind of coincides. I use this example. I took a medication called Bactrim. It's a common medication. It's for simple. I had an infection that was just not getting better. And so I took Bactrim. It's a sulfa medication. And I've never had any allergies, but all of a sudden I had this weird rash and I thought, I don't know why I'm having a rash. Maybe it's his medication. I stopped the medication, the rash went away. I was like, maybe it was just coincidence. Took the medication, rash came back worse. My lips started swelling. Well, I haven't been back to my clinic and got on my health record that my system shares with me. I can't change my allergies. I have to ask somebody else to change it. And so the reality is your health records are only as accurate as you make them. And so, for people, if you want it to be accurate, which everybody does, well, you have to understand. And let me plug this, because I have people I love dearly, my family and my parents. I'll throw them under the bus. And I say, what medicines do you take? I don't know. I take a small blue one and I take a big white one and I take this other one. Like, that is not good enough. You should know what medicines you're taking and why you take them. Nobody, your doctor knows why they prescribe it, but we just need to own little things. We need to know that the blue pill is the blood pressure pill, because that's the one we stop if our blood pressure is too low, or if we have a common side effect of it. We need to know those things. And that's where, again, if we have responsibility and have the tools to actually own and operate our health record, well, then we have a better understanding of it. And it's an experiential thing where that's just the norm. And so my hope is, it's hard to motivate people that sometimes people don't think, well, why would I have to own my health record? My doctor's got it. Well, your doctor should have it, and they should be able to use that to treat you appropriately, but they don't understand all the nuance and all the problems with relying on somebody else to actually understand their personal health information.
Wow, I love it. So how is Galvin Health using the data and metrics to create, a more personalized preventative care experience?
Yeah. Well, I love that you asked this. Right now, what it does do is, we know, my personal belief, I think there's a whole lot of science to back it, is that if there's one thing in the world that we could do to convince people to help them with everything, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, lower risk of cancer, more longevity, more quality of life, better mental health, it's exercise, period. If everybody was moving, and they've even shown this in critically ill people in the ICU, if we get them moving sooner, all of their outcomes are better. We also know not very many people actually do what they're supposed to do. So right now, in terms of preventive care, what I would say Galvin's contributing to is incentivizing people to just move and exercise, and giving them tools to track and assess their mental health with AI voice recognition software. And then if the stress is too high or the mood is too low, giving them tangible things that they can do themselves to prevent that from getting worse. By the time you seek help for mental health, it's too late.
Yeah.
Not too late that you can't get help still, not too late that you still can't improve and get better, but too late in that you've waited so long that you've gotten to the point where it actually overcomes the barrier to calling, to making an appointment, to taking work off, to going and sitting in the office and going to talk to somebody about it. That's a huge barrier. And so we think that talking into your phone for 40 seconds is not too big a barrier. And that allows you to catch it early so that you don't get to the point where you have to go and see someone. And if you've tried everything within your power and you're still not well, then you really benefit from going to see somebody, because you've done everything in your power. So those are the ways that Galvin is contributing to preventive care. Now, preventive care in the traditional Western medicine way of looking at things like blood pressure control and diabetes control and lipid control and all of those things, I think those are Galvin's not helping with those yet, other than the lifestyle changes, things like sleep. I mean, we know the fundamental pillars of health are: do you move? What are you eating? How are you sleeping? And how are you managing your stress and mental health? I mean, those are really, in my opinion, the four things that if we did those, we would be light years beyond where we are. And then when the bad things come, in the era of medical technology and advancement that we have with genetically targeted medications and precision surgical procedures, well, if we avoid those or push those off until we're older, then we still benefit from the best of both worlds. And I think that's really what we're hoping to do.
Absolutely. It's so great. So you mentioned earlier, how this is a community-owned health situation. How does this differ from the traditional model? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but explain to us about it.
Yeah. So here's the simple version. The first year and a half or 2 years that I came to Galvin, Really, it was creating a technology and getting what we call nodes. Nodes is just a piece of software that can remember and track blockchain transactions. And so we have now a node network of about 25,000 nodes across the world, housed on your computer or on a virtual server or wherever you want to put it, that helps to keep the transaction clear, accurate, and transparent. That's part of an infrastructure that everybody can see. So if you're familiar with blockchain, you can go see that this wallet swapped with this wallet and everyone can see it. That's the transparency that they talk about. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the costs and the problems with the current health system and how absolutely non-transparent those things are and how problematic they have become. But when we talk about decentralized and democratizing it and the community owns it, so we have a charter and we have a third party company out of Switzerland that makes sure that that charter is adhered to. I don't get to just pick, oh, hey, I'm the leader of Galvin, so I'm going to decide on this. Now we've launched it, right? So we made some decisions to say, hey, we think that we should reward exercise and mental health check-ins first. But that's been voted upon by the community to decide how the rewards get distributed. So that's where a vote must happen by those who own nodes. And in order for the distribution to happen, and then you can't just buy our tokens. We don't sell our tokens to people. They have to earn them. So there's 3 ways to earn tokens. You either exercise, you do a wellness check-in, or you run a node that maintains the blockchain and you're rewarded for those 3 things, period. Only way to do it. So that's what I mean when I say that we're different. Now, if you get a vote for how your healthcare is rewarding you, well, then I don't think you do. I've never been in a system like that. So that's the part where, again, my friend was the one that said, hey, when I told him about Galvin, he said, you're really democratizing healthcare. The reality is that it's not just healthcare, but health in general. Is we're trying to create a platform by which people can vote and it's transparent and you can see what's happening and you get a say. So I bring that up because I mentioned that we're only rewarding exercise and wellness checks right now. But in the future, my hope is that we're going to reward sleep. We'll be able to track sleep better. And so if you can track your sleep and you're getting the correct amount of sleep, and we teach you about sleep hygiene and how you don't drink late night caffeine, avoid screen time right before you go to bed, make sure that your room's dark and cool, make sure that you try to go to bed about the same time, try to wake up the same time. Those are things that are in our power. Those are the things that we should be rewarding because we know that that's invaluable to the rest of our well-being. So again, that's my opinion. Community have to vote on it, but that's how we're different than most is the community gets to vote on how our rewards get distributed.
Okay, this is so exciting. I know it's not fully what you're growing, but I'm just so excited to be watching this journey happen and to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes in 3 to 5 years. Like, it's going to be so incredible. What potential does this unlock for underserved communities or decentralized care?
Yeah, this is actually, I get almost emotional when I think about this. I mentioned a little bit my daughter. I was in a very fortunate circumstance where she got the care that she needed. She really got care that was even a little before it was proven because of her terrible diagnosis. What to me was part of the reason why I ended up launching the Galvin. Every parent should have the information they need. Now, I was a physician. I had done a research fellowship. I knew some of the physicians personally that were helping to track and care for our daughter. And so I had trust that we were making the best decision possible. Now, there was no right, obvious decision. People who do not have education and positions of influence or friends that are treating them, they don't have that. And that is not okay. Everyone, when you are given, it's not if, but it's when we get to that time where either us or someone we love dearly is in a place where we need to know that what we are getting is the very best. And we live in an era where we should know that. You don't have to travel to some fancy university or the best, quote, medical system that you believe in. Maybe for a very specific surgery, if only they do it, but that's rare. Typically, we know how effective the medicines might be. We live in an era where it's changing. And so my hope in helping people who are underserved or maybe don't have the same blessings that I have been given, have a platform they can trust and a community that's actually looking out for everybody. It's not that we want one group to be healthy and another group to not be healthy. It's the one thing in a society that seems to be at odds with one another on every topic. I think most humans can agree that we want people to at least be healthy and have the opportunity to live their life as they would like. And so that's where we hope that a platform that is objective, that is transparent, where, it's kind of crummy right now, where one person might pay $100 for something and another person pays $10 for something. I'm not sure how that's fair. I'm not sure that that's right. It certainly doesn't sit right with me when it comes to, companies need to be able to provide, that pharmaceutical companies need to fund novel new medications. I don't think that has to come at the expense of people who aren't rich or aren't privileged to live in a certain part of the world. So that's a very, very large aspiration of what Galvin hopes to be. But again, we're set up on a platform where everybody wins. Things should be transparent. The way you diagnose, the way you treat, the outcomes that may be similar or different for different people, even owning your own health records where your personal health information from your genetics to the other components of your individual health information, who do you want to give that to? I mean, that's the question, who should own that? Who should have access to that? Because the ethics of genetics is really hard. Not only are you sharing your information, but you're sharing your kids and your parents and your siblings. And you want to trust the system. You want to trust what's happening when things matter most. And if there's one thing that's more important than, resources and privilege, it's your health. Because without it, nothing else really works as we hope.
Oh my gosh. That was so beautiful. I kind of was getting a little emotional there. I'm so moved. I love people. And I grew up in a small town in Colorado and still have many people that I just love so dearly who would fit into this category of people who don't have the access to care that they really need. And so I think it's just such a beautiful and needed and surprised that it's not here already, thing to be striving towards. So I love that so much. Looking forward in 5 years, how do you envision platforms like Galvin be reshaping the preventative care landscape?
Well, I'm biased using my blockchain lens, but I think in the era where blockchain is transparent and decentralized and potentially owned by the community that participates in it, and the advances of artificial intelligence that we hear about every single day about what it can learn and what it can know, that is where I believe blockchain should be the forum by which AI is learning and people can control it instead of whoever controls the AI companies that there's a lot of debate about. I think that in 5 years, if it's done right, and if the people can see what's happening, I believe in what I call health agency. I think if I want to make stupid decisions, it's up to me. If I decide I'm not going to eat healthy and I'm not going to exercise and I'm not going to go to bed on time, well, I know better. And so, I'm the one that's going to suffer for it. When it comes to preventive care, there's a lot of people that don't know. They just don't know. And I think that's a place where in 5 years, I hope there are so few people who don't know that we can't even measure that everybody knows. And so, if they choose not to use that information to their benefit and they make poor decisions, well, that's their prerogative. I think people should be given that agency I guess that's the term that makes sense to me. And so my hope is that in 5 years, like you said, with regard to preventive medicine, I hope that people recognize that it's more important, the things that are most important to your health, you control. Almost always. And even in the cases where you may need the help of others, you may need a medication in order, if you're type 1 diabetic, if you don't get insulin, you will not live very long. That's an absolute necessity in order for you to live. And so you may need that. But if you don't sleep and you don't exercise and you don't eat well, insulin's not enough. And I think right now in society, we've relied too heavily upon modern technologies and not taken ownership for the things that we control. As a physician, many of the physicians or health professionals, whatever your role is in helping people be healthier, a lot of times we live in an era where it's like we blame other people. Like, oh, my doctor didn't do this. It's like, well, they make mistakes like everybody else, but did you take ownership in what was your role and responsibility in your own health? Or did you just point the finger at somebody else? So that's a long answer. You can tell that I'm passionate about that. I think we live in an era where people should be informed. I think they should understand what's their responsibility. And it also should be clear what's the responsibility of others. So with regard to preventive medicine, I think we live in a time where if we do it right, everybody should know what is their role. And if they do that, all the metrics for health and wellness across the world will improve. I mean, there's some very basic things. We don't need to get the most sophisticated robotic surgical procedures to everybody yet. It's not that people shouldn't have access to those, but we can start somewhere that's actually feasible with getting them incentives, information, and knowledge about what they can do. There's still, sadly, people in parts of the world that are just dying from things that are 100% we know how to fix, and that's not okay. And so my hope is, with regard to that question, is that we will, care about getting the most basic, fundamental information, knowledge, and incentives into the hands of everybody so that they can decide if they want to do the preventative measures that are 100% in their control.
Love that. I recently heard an analogy to pulling people from a river. And instead of just continuously pulling people from a river, go a little bit further upstream and see where they're falling in. And I think this has the potential to help so many people not fall in the river and to just live a more empowered, healthy, happy, joyful life in the end. So this is so exciting. Well, Adam, in closing, this has just been such a delightful, firing conversation. I feel what do I feel? Excited and something beyond excited. I feel like there's a momentum and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just excitement, but it's big, a lot of excitement. Okay. And gratitude. I'm grateful that, you had this idea and saw it through. And I think it just has potential for so much good. And I want to just shout it from the rooftops. I'm already telling my friends, my family, I'm telling everybody that I'm coming in contact with, like, oh my gosh, I've got to look into this. It is just incredible. So thank you so much. Where can listeners find more about you and Galvin?
Yeah, thanks for so number one, thank you for having me here to share. We are at this point where really what we want is for people to spread the word about what we're trying to do. And the reality is we want the best solutions for people to win. And we think that what we have right now, we haven't found a better solution. If we find a better one, we want to promote it. We really want people to see things as they really are and be rewarded for it. To answer your question, we're on all the social media platforms. We have a linked tree and maybe we can share that in the comments or something that I can share with you. But galvin.health is where you'll find our website. You can go there and learn a little bit about it. If you just want to go download the app, you can go to either your Google or Apple app stores and download it. First, it's free. Go to Galvin, sign up for a free crypto wallet. It's a little bit different. If you don't have a crypto wallet, you'll see, you're going to have a password. You may not be familiar with it, but take the plunge. Learning about this new technology is part of what is going to be one of many solutions to help things be better in the future. So it's free. Go get one. In fact, you can shoot me an email and I'll even send you some of my digital rewards from Galvin so that you can have some. But start there and then go get the app in the App Store or go to the Well Collective and see how you can use eyes to actually get health and wellness products that help people. That's where you can find us, galvin.health. You can find me just by name on LinkedIn or wherever, but it's less about me. I'm not the one that's responsible for this. I just have begun to drink the Kool-Aid, and there's a whole team of people that helped me to see the vision of this and are helping to bring it to fruition. So we want you to be part of that. Again, you, Britta, and whoever's listening, we want you to come join us, help us be better and help. Our mission is to galvanize the world to heal humanity. And so anything that anybody's doing to help accomplish that, we think that's part of the mission.
That was such a fascinating and exciting conversation that we had with Dr. Adam Sharp. If this sparks something in you, please go follow, tell your friends, tell your doctor, tell everybody that you know. We've got to get the word out about this. Thank you so much for joining us today.